Hey, hello, we're gonna get ready to start Dday peleliu. I do have two rules questions for folks who are watching. I've had a couple awesome people helping me with rules to this series of games, and after reading this, I have two questions. The first one is, what the heck is a cliff? I mean, I'm looking at this here. Well, first of all, let me show you. There's a cliff hexide, which is brown, and then there's a mountain hexide, which is brown, brown, and brown. So to me, they all look the same. I mean, the cliff looks like it's like one shade of brown that transitions into another. But I mean, how on earth do I determine that? I don't know what a cliff is. So if somebody can help me identify what a cliff is, I'm assuming that this is a cliff right here, because it's like really light brown and then it goes to dark brown all in one space. I'm just having a bear of a time identifying what a cliff is in this game. And it is important because there are special rules specific to cliffs in this game. And then the next one is Japanese withdrawal. I think I found a typo in the rule book. It says that this is just like Tarawa, where the elite units can withdraw if they can trace Japanese communication. And see, it says at the moment of attack. Okay? And then it says see 11.2 and 11.23. So now if I go to 11.2 and 11.23, it gets even worse, because there is no 11.23. So there's an 11.22 and then it goes to 11.3. So that's the typo. There is no 11.23. Now there is an 11.22 that says timing. Communication of Japanese positions is established at the beginning of the Japanese fire phase and does not change throughout the phase. Now that is the Japanese fire phase. Oh, I answered my own question. So here, during the event phases of the U.S. action phase, Japanese communication status is determined at the moment it is required. Got it. I was getting really concerned that I've been doing that wrong for ages, but I'm not doing that wrong. And I'm talking about my previous games of this. So if you're new here, just sit tight. We will go through the rules and whatnot. I think I got the hang of this. Obviously, I'll screw some things up. So some big difference from Tarawa is that a concentrated unit is now defined as 7 pips instead of 5. That's amazingly different. And another thing, and so once again, if you're new, the pips being these things, and in previous games, if you had 5 or more, that position was considered to be intense fire instead of these half circle ones, which are steady fire. So if you're a concentrated unit, you were easier to hit. Now you need 7 or more pips. So that's a huge difference. We also get 3 movement instead of the usual 2, and that's for the entire game. The barrage table changed immensely, but I didn't see any differences in the way the barrage works. And then close combat looks like it changed. So that's going to throw me for a loop, because I just finally figured out how to do close combat in the last game, but now it's going to be different. But we will discuss those things as we go. So this game, peleliu at least, the one thing I like about it is it starts you off easy. And as you go through the turns, there will be text written on those turns that will tell you when things unlock. And then you can see those little gold actions there. First is an M, and then an R, and then a P. So those actions are Japanese actions that will unlock as we go as well. So we don't have to worry about those actions until we get to them. And I'm one of those people that I don't memorize everything. So when we get to them, we'll just look them up and it'll tell us what to do. It's not too bad, although I have gotten them wrong a few times. So basically, what you want to do is there are 3 sheets here. The U.S. barrage table is very handy, and you're going to want it nearby. But on the other side is the sequence of play. And that's how we're going to start. We're going to go through the sequence of play. This close combat procedure is a must-have Bible. You cannot leave home without it. You're going to need it for every close combat you do. And then they added this, which is nice. This is a procedure for when they do those actions. So for example, this M here, that's the M action. Remember the M up there? So if you ever get the M action, it gives you a procedure for it. And then the R action, the P action, etc. Also, in the back of the book, this is probably the most useful thing, is you have to look at this as well, because these different symbols and letters are going to mean different things. And so we're doing what's called the invasion scenarios. We're not doing Bloody Nose Ridge, so we get to ignore these columns. We're doing the invasion scenarios, and what you need to know and I know I haven't explained the turn orders or anything like that yet, but if a Japanese position is occupied and U.S. units are in their field of fire, we do this. If it's occupied but there's no U.S. units in the field of fire, we do this. If it's unoccupied, meaning there's no Japanese units there at all, it's in communication, we'll explain that in a second, and there's U.S. units within 3 spaces, and that's going to be hard for me because it was 2 in the last game, and so it's just, you learn how to brush your teeth a certain way. Now I got to learn it again. So within 3 spaces, then you do this, and if it's a tank, it does that. It doesn't matter anything else. If you have to activate a tank, it does that. There is one tank rule that somebody explained to me that I missed the last game, and I was looking for it, and I can't find it. So maybe that's something else somebody could help me with. They explained that a tank will switch positions with an infantry when it's there. So if a tank activates and nobody was in its field of fire and it tries to advance, if there was an infantry in the position that it wants to advance to, it will swap places with it. I need to find that because I can't find that in the, like somebody explained it to me. I definitely understood what they were explaining, but I can't find that in the rules where I would do that. Anyways, I would really appreciate that if somebody can help me with that. Oh, and sure enough, I just found it. So how many more rules am I going to bring up and ask for help and then I find it before it's on page 28 under the advance section. It says that a tank can move to a Japanese occupied position and it'll swap positions. But that's a last resort. It tries to move to an unoccupied position first. Okay, so I know I'm getting way ahead. For those of you who are probably trying to learn this game, if you haven't watched the previous series, that's fine. I apologize for bringing it up so many times. But what we're going to do is we have to do, first thing up is landings. But there's no landings to do this turn. Landings are when you have units that are here in these, what's called the approach boxes. And then this is called the beach approach. So they're on beach approach right now. And so we are going to skip step 1, and we're skipping 2. So phase 1 and 2 of your turn we don't do on the first turn. What we do is we start on phase 3, and that's the Japanese action phase. And if you're wondering, you can look up here and it'll tell you that things get skipped. But the amphibious operations phase, there's nobody to land. So even if you think you're supposed to do it, you're not. So it's as simple as this. We just draw a card, and we're going to reveal it, and then the Japanese are going to do things, nasty things to us. And what we got to do is hope that we just survive it. And our tanks are all vulnerable. We have 3 tanks on the board, by the way. We have 1 here, there, and there. And so let's reveal it and show you what we got. So you can see I have a red, a blue, and a green. None of them have the armor symbol, which is an oval. And that's good because we have tanks here that have landed on the beach. And if they don't have an armor symbol, there's a real good chance that our tanks will survive the attack. However, if our tanks are in an intense fire, they take hits anyways. So that's what we're going to resolve right now. So we'll just go left or right. We're going to start with the red. So the A here we ignore because the A action has not been unlocked. See how it has that A on turn 9? So not until turn 9 do we need to worry about what the A action does. And by the way, that'll be assault. That's not too bad. But anyways, red goes first. So it tells you that disruption gets removed at the end of red's turn. But I'm going to remove the disruption marker from every red unit that is nowhere near my tank. I'm a little bit out of what they say to do in order, but this is important because if I forget, then it's worse. Okay, now I get closer to here, and this red unit is disrupted, so he's not going to fire, and that's the only one that's near our tanks. So we'll just remove the disruption marker, and basically nothing happens, okay? So then we go to blue. Now blue is going to fire, and by the way, these are all single colors, meaning that all you need is a single unit for it to trigger. So blue did not have disruption markers on them, and you can verify that pretty easily. So we don't have to worry about that. So all they're doing is firing. This guy is going to fire, and he has the ability to do 2 hits because there's 2 of them there. However, your unit can never take more than 1 hit. And sure enough, we're in an intense fire. So even though we're in armor, when you're in these solid circles, you take a hit. So we just lost a step like that. Okay, and then green fires, and they are also, actually green was supposed to be disrupted. And I know this because all the other greens out there are disrupted. So this green here, I just forgot to put a disruption marker on. So here, that's how he's supposed to look. And I'm just removing the disruption marker from all the other greens that are far away. And look, there was another one I forgot to do. I'm just not good at this game, am I? Okay, so that was lucky on our part because now all he does is lose a disruption marker, and we would have taken a hit here. You can see that. And this tank over here got super lucky because this was purple and brown, and he didn't take any hits. So, so well done. We survived. Next is a second event phase, but you can see here it doesn't start until turn 5. Okay. Then we do an HQ phase, but that doesn't start until turn 7. And then we do an action phase. So we get to perform actions with 2 US units or stacks. In addition, we get to do free actions. Anybody that's a hero, inspired, or disrupted gets to go for free. Don't let them fool you. That disrupted thing, your only free action you get to do is remove your disruption. But if you're in the influence of an HQ unit, you get to go for free. Or if you're in command, and that's a new thing in this game. It's a very simple rule. Watch me screw it up 30 times, but it is really simple. There's these things called regimental HQs and then infantry HQs. There's 2 different types of HQs in this game. And then command posts don't come until later, so don't worry about those. And then last but not least, you resolve close combat. And I can't remember the name of the guy that kept telling me that I was doing close combat wrong. I promise you, I heard you. I'm going to do it right from here on out. And so we'll see. Okay, so there's nobody with free actions in this. The actions for me, I have 3 guys. I get to do 2 actions. And I'm going to... I know they said that these so I said these tokens were used only under Bloody Nose Ridge, but these tokens are not. Those are your action tokens. We only get 2 of them. The reason they give you 3 is sometimes you get an extra action as part of, you know, something magical, like an event. But we get 2, and we got to get off the beach. We got to get out of these kill zones, right? So that's the other thing. And this guy is already near dead. So maybe he's not the best one to get out of a kill zone. However, he can attack. Now, here's the part that bothers me, is I don't think you can attack with just a tank alone. So I actually think we're stuck. So in order to do an attack, you must have an infantry unit involved. Now, tanks can always help with attacks, but you have to have an infantry unit at all times. An attack, here we go, it's on page 15. An attack must include at least one infantry HQ, which is the new concept, or engineer unit attacking a Japanese-occupied hex from an adjacent hex. As long as this requirement is met, then we can join it with other stuff, and that other stuff could be a tank. So these tanks are called amphibious tanks. Amphibious tanks, the only difference that they add is they have flamethrowers on them. So if we do give them actions, we're basically going to give them a move action to get off the beach, and that's it. There's no opportunity to attack here until infantry get on the beach. So the move actions are, the other thing we can do is barrage, but the barrage rule very clearly states that they have to be revealed. And see, all these Japanese units are unrevealed at this point. So so we have to move. Now, this guy is disrupted. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put one action on this tank here. And you get 3 movement points. And your movement has to end if you move into a space that has intense fire. So so basically, because the fire is so heavy, you can't move more than just that one space. So if I were to move to here, my turn's over. Now, this guy's disrupted, though, so I can move through his spaces. So I can actually go 1, 2, like this, and I'm no longer in intense fire. If you look here, there's just a steady fire, which is a much better position for us. There's none of these intense fires. And so I'm going to move, and then I actually claim this area so the Japanese can't occupy it, because I'm occupying it. And since he's disrupted, I'm allowed to do that, because, so that was an awesome move. Very happy to do that. I'm wishing I could have done that with this guy. We do have a disrupted guy over here, but that doesn't do us much. I mean, yeah, he can hit there, but this tank is screwed. I'm giving up on him. And we're just going to move to this tank. Now, the problem here is wherever he moves, he's moving into an intense fire zone. He can currently get hit by both brown and purple. By the way, one final mention of Tarawa. This board, the graphics is so much better. I can see all these colors so much better than I could in Tarawa, so I'm very happy with that. Okay, now with this being said, 1 is better than 2, right? So right now we can get hit by 2 things. I want to reduce it to at least 1. So moving here is a stupid move, because all that does is, I mean, if I'm going to move here, I might as well just go move the other guy. So if I move here, this is an interesting move because I do get 1 less fire, but now blue can hit me. And so I'm not so sure, and brown can still hit me. Now, granted, these 2 require a lot more magic to be able to hit you. Now, this is not so bad, but we want to sort of get off the beach. There's nothing good, to be quite honest. And so what I can do is move over to here. So that way I'm only getting attacked by blue and purple, and blue is a half circle. So this is a better position than that, but this tank is in trouble. That's, I think, the bottom line. I could go up to here, and like I said, now 3 of them could hit me, but I am in position to put a world of hurt on this thing. But the way tanks work, oh, never mind. His flamethrower ability only works if he's next to the target. So if I keep him back here, he can't use his flamethrower. He can still use his bazooka, which is his, his tank. He's a tank. His turret, I mean. And or he can use his machine gun that's mounted on top. That's 3 spaces away. This is an extremely difficult decision, and I'm only on turn 1. If I look over here at this guy and say, okay, could I do something better? Look at this. This is 4 fire zones. This is a meat grinder right here. This is, whoever lands over here is just going to be dead. I mean, my goodness, this is awful. That's awful. This is worse. That is worse. that is worse. This would be better to move over to there. That's it. The reason I'm giving up on him is he's already taken 1 damage. So I'm gonna do this. It's slightly better than where he was. Just slightly. Okay, that's my 2 actions. And that's it for my turn. We are now at the end of the turn. So you can feel free to read this. It says, you move all cards to the discard pile. And that's assuming we would have put them up there. I didn't do that. And then we just keep playing until we lose or until the scenario ends. There is a checkpoint, I think turn 12. And our objectives are we have to have at least 10 positions taken. Technically speaking, we have 1 right now. We have to have 10 in order to not lose. It might be 12. Don't hold me to it. But I think it's 10. And if we somehow control all of the coral, which coral are these gray spots here. These 2 are coral spots. That's a coral spot. So if I somehow control all the coral there, and then there's, for whatever reason, 2 more coral here, I actually win the game by turn 12, and we don't even have to play the rest of the game. Or if I control all of zone, I believe it was B, which is something like 15 spots, and they're only the spots that have B written on them. If I control all of those, we win the game. And we don't have to continue. So it's pretty interesting how that plays out. I think those are going to be very hard to do versus just playing the full extended game. And in fact, what fun is it to win so early anyways? So it says that if I get, if I get all 13 position hexes that project fire onto U.S. landing beaches. So that's these starting ones that are shooting at our landing beaches. I need to get all 13 of those and secure Zone B or secure the coral positions along with those. So I have to take all these positions along the beach and the coral, or all these positions and Zone B. If I do that, I decisively win, and I don't even have to continue the rest of the game. Otherwise, as long as I have at least 10 positions, I don't lose, and I can move on. And then after the 24 turns, you need all of Zone A and B in order to win. And every 2 that I have in Zone C or D subtracts 1 from Zone A that I need to have. So let's say there was 1 from Zone A that I didn't have. As long as I have 2 from Zone C or D, I can negate that. Now, another rules question for you folks. What if I have 1 from Zone C and 1 from Zone D? Can I count them? My understanding is I can't. That Zone C and Zone D are separate checks. So I have to have 2 from C or 2 from D, but I can't have 1 from C and 1 from D and use both of those to negate 1. Anyways, we have 24 turns before we have to worry about that. But, anyways, thank you for those of you watching these early videos. I like to ask these questions early because I don't need to know the answer now, but by the time I upload these videos and they watch them, I might actually get the answer before I finish. Okay, so moving on. Not being able to attack or barrage sucks. That's an awful opening turn. There was no way to barrage at all, I don't think. Barrage, by the way, is an option that your tanks have that can disrupt a Japanese unit. So it's very important to barrage places. Like if I would have barraged this, we could put a disruption marker on, and then you saw what that did. It made it so they couldn't hit us. I couldn't do either because you can only barrage a revealed position, and that means these need to be flipped over. So no good there. We're moving on to turn 2. Now, one thing I forgot to do that we were supposed to do on turn 1 is at the end of turn 1, we were supposed to take everything from this pile that I'm grabbing with one arm here and put them on the approach boxes. So my apologies there. And we were supposed to do that right at this phase that I told you we were supposed to skip, which was step 1. The reason it told us it doesn't say skip it is because this is the only thing you do. We were supposed to have all these out. And I don't think there's any harm in it. I mean, nothing would have changed, but just making sure you understand procedurally, I already screwed up. Now, for 2 here, I screwed up the procedure, but the game is fine. For 2 here, it's saying start event card draw. So that means we're going to also be able to draw an event this turn. But let's get this taken care of. I'm going to put this camera down. And it's pretty simple. So see here, it says 03. Let me tap on it. There we go. See how it says 03? It's going to land on orange 3. And so what I do is I just put it in this box like that. And so we just got to do this with all of them. So this is a white 2. 3 of them. See these guys, just say your goodbyes to them. So you got to tell them how much you love them and how much, you're going to marry their brother when they don't come back home, because these guys are landing in the meat grinder. I don't know how they're going to even survive, to be quite honest. And these orange landings are going to be a lot nicer. And then these. Now, it doesn't matter where they are. You can stack them on top of each other. I just like to see them. This does not dictate that he's landing on the left side. You get to choose where you're landing. We'll get to that in a second. And in fact, that's what the start of turn 2 is we're doing the amphibious stage. So see, this is what I skipped the last turn. It says place units arriving next turn in the landing boxes. Now, why is that important? It wasn't important in turn 1, but from here on out it will be, because the Japanese could have artillery shoot, and the artillery from the Japanese target these boxes first. That's their top priority. So it will be important from here on out for me not to forget that step. Okay, so the first thing we do is we conduct a landing check for each occupied landing box. So the way you do that is you just draw a card, and you reveal it, and nothing matters on the card except for that blue at the top. And we're going left to right. So we started with this box here. And so what it's saying is that it's a brown triangle. And so what you do is you look only here. You don't look any, and so you can see there's a brown. I know it's hard on the camera, but it's yellow, brown, purple, blue. So we got a brown triangle, or brown diamond. I'm sorry, I'm awful with my shapes. A brown diamond. Well, there is a brown. It's here, and it's shooting. And so all the it's going to hit all the diamonds. So we took a hit with this diamond right here. So he loses a step. And then it tells you whether they drift, and they can drift left or right. Now in this case, there is no way to go left, so it would just go right. But anyways, there's no drift on this one, and so nothing happens. So now they're all going to land, and so we get to pick where they're going to land. And remember, there's 7 steps in this game, and we can land anywhere there's an arrow, and this is the most stupid place to land. I'm just going to tell you, if you choose to do that when these 2 are still available, I'm going to tell you to sell your game and try something else. And why am I saying that? Because there's nothing to attack. And there's 4, count them, 4 intense fire. All these guys are focused on that spot. That is like the worst spot in the planet for you to be at. So there is already a tank here. And so I'm going to go ahead and land this unit there. And then these 2 both. Well, that's what's interesting. A concentrated unit is, a unit's considered concentrated if you have 7 pips. And I have 7 pips. So that might be the one reason why you may want to land somebody here. Although this is 3 concentrated and blue is not concentrated, I'm going to do it. I'm going to make this a concentrated unit because it's already concentrated. I mean, there's already 3 and what a concentrated unit does is it makes that blue a solid blue, which you may think stinks, but you know what? If blue's number comes up, he's got 2 targets right there. He's already hitting 2 because if he has a choice between these, he's always going to hit the one with the highest step first. So I guess technically he would hit one of these. He would hit that one first and then maybe one of these second. So the drawback there is then you can do that, and since he's a range 2, he can shoot 2 spaces away. I still don't like it, folks. I'm going to just stack them up heavy. I think that's the only way to survive this. Remember, we only get 2 actions. And whatever units land, I'm only going to be able to control 2 of them. And if you give an action to a whole stack, that whole stack will move as 1 action. So by having them stacked together like this, they can both do an action by spending just 1 action point. If I put this guy here and I want to attack something like this with both of these, then I'm spending 2 action points, and that's not as good. Now, another question you might be thinking, what if we drew gold and this is disrupted? We would have been fine. There would have been no damage. So the fact that brown wasn't disrupted is how we got our damage there. Okay, so let's move on. Next we have blue circle. And so you can see blue is firing and we have a circle. So it's going to be pretty hard to land and not take a hit, especially since Butterfield gave us every single shape. It's just a matter of eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And we got to decide, because now wherever we land, we're not going to necessarily have actions. So I want to make sure I got the concentrated unit correct, because it used to be 5 for an eternity, and I think they changed it to 6. Now I'm seeing why. Oh, where are you? I know it's here. Oh, here we go. 7. 7 is a concentrated unit in this game. 7 is. So, 4 plus 3. That one is still concentrated. This one is most certainly not. So these 2 would still be concentrated if I put them together, because this is a 3 and that's a 4. So what do I do? What's super interesting is, see this guy here? We could surround him and have him attacked by 2 sides. So I'm going to do this out of the hopes that blue is going to go down. This red one is bad, but this is actually not a bad spot. So I'm going to land him there and him there. The idea here is if blue goes down, only red can hit these 2 spots. So this won't be as bad as it looks. That's the idea. Okay, moving to the next one. It is a green... Oh, I'm sorry. There was something I missed. It said drift right. So we got to resolve that. And that changes the way these guys land. So bear with me. 1 unit, and only 1 unit, is drifting to the right. And if it drifts to the right, it doesn't get hit again. So when we draw the card for this, we don't have to... there's no... there's no... Like if this guy took a hit here and I drift him to the right, he's not taking a hit there. So you can like put him like there just to show he has to land, but he's not eligible to be hit a second time. I hope that makes sense. And it's just 1 unit, and you get to pick which unit is going to do the drifting. So I'm going to pick the one that got hit and then do this. All right, so now we're going to draw the next one. It's a green circle. and it says drift left. So it gets crazy because now there's a drift left. So there's a hit on the green circle, and I will drift this one to the left, and he'll land there. And now I got to figure out how are these guys landing. And I'm going to land this one there. There. And there. Now, why was I flipping them back and forth even though they're both the same? I was seeing the MGs on this one. This is a machine gun. That's a pretty rare one for an infantry that's been hit. But there's a machine gun on the tank. And so if I put him over here, I already have a machine gun on the tank. So chances are he's going to be helping to the left. And this one's going to help to the right. And a radio, a demolition, and a Browning, which are the 3 weapons that he has here, are actually more helpful. And I know I haven't explained what those different weapons do. But if you were to look at the U.S. attack chart, your weapons are going to get compared to, here, let me just grab a random Japanese one here. This is a example of a Japanese unit. And see, he needs, he has a strength of 1, which is pretty easy to overcome. You usually need to double this number with your strength. And then you need to have this weapon, a mortar, is what that stands for. And then there's another one, you need a mortar and flank. So they could have more than one requirement on them. And so when you look on the back of that, you can see here that all the different units, a full-strength infantry unit has a bazooka, a machine gun, etc. Well, when they take damage and you flip them, they no longer have all their weapons. They lose a few of them. And that's what you're seeing is happening here, is these two are damaged and they only have 3 of the weapons, whereas when they were full strength, they had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So they lost half of their weapons. So that's what's going on there. Okay, next one. No drift, and it's a red circle. I need to back up. Again, so sorry. The previous one was green circle. There was a green, so they took a hit. The previous one was a blue circle. There was a blue. Okay, we're fine, we're fine. You have to check. They only get hit if there's actually a color there. This one's a red circle, and if you'll notice, there's no red here, so nobody takes a hit. So orange 2 is safe. It was possible that white 2 and orange 1 would have been safe. We've actually had really bad luck. So all 3 of these guys are landing, and see, look, yellow can hit all these spots. So if we can take yellow out, these 2 beaches get really clear fast. And then we finally have a way in. And then we get to here, and there's no drift, and it's a brown diamond, and I think brown is here. See, brown is there. So that was a bad draw, and we took a hit. So now these guys land, and you can see, you know, the purple, etc. So that's how they're going to land, and we're moving on. So we do our first event. So the event is the middle section here, and we're on turn 2. So we just do this. We ignore that. And if you ever see BNR, that's for Bloody Nose Ridge, which is a scenario we're not doing. So you skip those. Sorry, I keep bumping the camera here. But we get a hero marker, which is an awesome one to get on the first turn on any U.S. unit. And then we add a depth marker to 1 Japanese unit. So the depth marker stinks, but the hero marker is really good. So now, in the sequence of play, if you look on the right side here, there's a good spot that says Japanese marker placement priority. So it goes beneath a non-tank. By the way, the tanks don't ever get depth markers. They already have them at the start of the game. It goes closest to a U.S. unit, and if there's more than one to choose from, it goes to a position adjacent to a landing beach, and then another position. And even if that's a tie, it goes within the lowest ID number and then lowest letter. Okay, ID number and letter are pretty easy. Those are, see, like this is a B3. So it's saying it would go to the 3 first, and then B would be the next one, the letter. So, hold on, my phone's getting ready to fall over. So what we would do here is we have to find a spot that's next to a US unit. So here's one, there's one, there's one, and there's one. So then what's next to a landing hex? This is not next to a landing hex. The rest of them are, I can just assure you, they are. So that one was eliminated to the right. So then what's next? Then it says lowest ID number and then lowest letter. So this is a 9, and I think they're all going to be a B. So the letter's not going to matter, but the number will. That's a B6, and this is a B2. So B2 gets it. So you just come over here and grab from the stack of doom. And he gets a depth marker. And that hurts, because we were really trying to make a dent here, and now it just got worse. Okay, so, but we get a hero. And so we grab one of our hero tokens. A hero gets to go for free, meaning that he does not cost action points. He only goes by himself for free. So if he's in a, if he's in a stack, the other units don't go for free with him. So I can't like put him here and then hope that both of these units are going to get to go. It doesn't work that way. So what I want to do is I want to give it to a unit that can go for free and probably do some serious damage for us. And what I'm thinking is I have two awesome candidates. I have this red one here that would be really nice to take out. And then I have this gold one over here that is disrupted. So since he's disrupted, we have potentially 2 turns, because if I don't draw a gold this turn, I'll have another turn to hit him. But I know for a fact this gold guy is not going to hit us. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give the hero to him, because he'll survive their, because they attack first. And I don't want my hero to get injured, or my unit to get injured. That makes my hero a crappy hero to start the game. A man who drop watch in toilet have crappy time. So don't drop your watch in the toilet on this one. So you want to make sure it's somewhere safe, and that's what this is. Putting your hero here could be in the toilet. So Confucius is always right in wartime situations. So make sure you listen to him. So with that being said, these Japanese infantry who run in front of my tank get tired. And any of them that chase my tank get exhausted. So there you go. Deep thoughts for Dday, peleliu. All right, now we do the Japanese fire phase. So again, it's 1 card. This is where the game luck either goes your way or it doesn't go your way. You can just get clobbered if you get the wrong card at the wrong time. And let's see how we do. All right, what do we got here? We got a red A. Remember, we ignore the A, we ignore the R. This one will do something, the purple. But let's do the red A first. Okay, so that's bad. This red is going to attack, but the good news is he's just 1 unit. He doesn't have a depth, so he's going to hit one of our red spots. He goes after the solid red circles first. So there's 4 units that are going to get hit here, and he's only going to hit one of them because there's just not enough shells in his gun, to go around. He doesn't have enough ammunition to shoot all 4. So, which one gets hit? The answer is the one with the most steps. They all have 4 steps. So then it's the one that's closest to him. So it's this one. And what did I tell you about dropping watches in toilets? Right there, folks. It's as if I knew what was going to happen. And I know I'm recording this, and I could have staged the card this way, and I promise you I did not, because that annoys the frick out of me when people do that. But anyways, there you go. We took the hit. That's pretty standard in a game like this. Next is purple. Now, purple, this purple here has 2. So he's going to hit 2 units. So 2 Utes are going down, and then that symbol means he can hit a tank. So that means this tank is up for being hit. But unfortunately, he goes after the most steps. And you can see here that there's purple and there's purple. So this one takes the hit first. And then this one takes the hit second. So this beach is Clobber Beach. It's the meat grinder. And Confucius had something to say about that too. A butcher who back into meat grinder get a little behind in his order. So there's a lot of people getting behind in their order. So we only damaged 2. The tank survives even though he has the tank symbol because the other units were juicier targets. Now, with that being said, if we also drew a blue, this blue would hit 2 guys. And, well, actually, it would have worked out just the same. It is possible that if one of these other units, like maybe Brown, came up and he needed to hit 2 guys, but Brown can't hurt the tank, the game rules do say you have to do maximum hits. So that means purple would have hit the tank if it means that Brown hit the 2 other guys. So you do have to be mindful, but that's not our situation here. We actually got a little lucky considering how many of those could have hit. But purple does get to attack over here as well, and it is a tank, and that is intense fire. Now remember, he's in an intense fire zone, so the tank does not matter. Okay, even if he didn't have the tank symbol, this tank could still get hit. But we have 3 of them that are eligible. He goes after the closest and most steps. So now we get to choose. So since this one can get hit twice and this one can only get hit once, I will choose this one because he's most likely going to get hit anyways. And guess what? Now we have Brown. So Brown is hitting 2 guys. And so we come here and this one's taking another hit and this one's taking a hit. No, Brown is only hitting 1 guy. There's only 1 of them. So it'll be this one takes a hit. And actually my scenario does come true because this Brown is hitting 2 guys. Remember, he just got a depth marker from the event. So now he's hitting 2. So we may actually end up hitting that tank. He's hitting circle. And neither of these are a circle. But both of these are intense. So what's going to happen is this one's going to take... See, this one took a hit from purple. And both of these can get hit by Brown. So Brown's going to hit both of these, and then purple's going to hit both of those. So, so the tank is destroyed, is what I'm trying to tell you. And yeah, because purple damaged this guy, and both of these are being damaged. Now, the reason I took this off is he's getting hit a second time, so he goes into the catastrophic loss box, and he is the I31. So we got to come over here and find, like this is I35, I31 is this one. So he's not completely removed, but he's down to his green band. He only has 2 steps left. And if he were to get destroyed, he also goes into the catastrophic loss box. And the amount of catastrophic losses we're allowed to have, I guess, doesn't happen until turn 5. So turn 5 is when we could lose the game due to catastrophic losses. But anyways, I know there was a lot going on in that one. This red and brown, or sorry, purple and brown actually did trigger that rule I was trying to explain. So purple by itself would have hit 1 here and 1 there, but because brown could only hit these 2, neither of these were eligible because that's a half brown symbol. Purple ended up hitting both of these, and then brown hit both of those. Anyways, long story short, we got slaughtered. So I had these grand ambitions of stacking 2 units here and 2 units there, and we were going to just clear out something, right? So that this would be less intense and this beach would be more clear. They hit us so bad that it's now our turn to do actions, and I don't know if we can do it. So let me explain a few things. I think part of my problem is since I've played the other two D-Day games, I'm not explaining things as slowly as I used to. The first thing to understand is that when the Japanese are hitting you, there's a Japanese attack table, a Japanese fire chart right here. And so first thing you're going to do is priority 1, they're going to hit anything that's in a solid circle. And then it tells you what they're going to hit, if it's a revealed position and if it's an unrevealed position. So you lose a step and you're disrupted. So I forgot all about that. So good thing we checked this. So all these units are actually disrupted. So we don't even get to do an action with these guys. That's how brutal this is. So I got to look at everybody else who got hit. On that last card, it was red. And I think, yeah, that's right, because the guy in the... That's right, we dropped the watch in the toilet. So, see, our hero would have been disrupted. And then over here, brown went and purple went. So he got disrupted from purple, and I believe he got disrupted from brown. So you see how that plays out? So now we got all these guys that are disrupted. And thank goodness we checked. And that's on this Japanese fire chart. So if it's an unrevealed position, you do this column. If it's a revealed position, you do this column. And ambush is a specific action, the A action, so don't worry about that. And then machine gun fire is not done normally, so that's like an event kind of thing. Or actually, that's the M action, sorry. But you're not going to see that early either. So right now you're looking at this, and this is what I mean by the half circle. The half circle is not as bad. You don't take as much damage from the half circle unless you match the symbol. So that's the thing you have to bear in mind with this. And then now it's our turn, and we need to hit them. So if we're trying to hit them, not only do we need to match their weapons, which I explained, but you usually need to have at least double their strength. If you have less than double, bad things can happen to you, especially if you don't meet the weapons. And we don't know what weapons they need until we attack them. So this is a blind thing. We're going to reveal it, and if we don't have the weapon they need, then we have to do this chart. And if you see that if we have less strength than them, they gain more units. Or we get disrupted, and he doesn't even get revealed, or the depth marker doesn't. If we have attack strength that's equal or just greater, they could still gain more units, and then we get disrupted. So the only people who take damage is us. And then if we have at least double, we revealed them, we realize we don't have the weapons to defeat them, but we at least disrupt them, and that's what we want. That's exactly what we want. We want to disrupt them, okay? So that's the only outcome that matters, and so you need to have double the strength. And what I'm getting at here is these guys took so much damage. We have 5 plus 3, that's 8 strength. So if this thing is less than 4, we're screwed. Or I'm sorry, a thing more than 4, we're screwed. Because a 4 times 2 is 8. We need to have 4 or less. Now, you might be thinking, well, how high are these numbers? You just showed us one when you were giving us examples that only had a 1 or a 2 on them. That is correct. And I think a lot of them are low like that. But we also have some other contingencies. This chart here is the terrain chart. And it gets a little crazy, but I'll zoom in and show you. So, here we go. If we're in brush, brush is this type of terrain right here, and that's what we are in currently. This unit here is in brush, see? It's where you're attacking. If we're attacking a brush position, any U.S. infantry conducting ranged fire gets cut in half. Well, if you're right next to them, you don't have to worry. That's not ranged fire. But if you're trying to shoot from multiple spaces away, then yes, it's an issue. So for example, I can attack with this unit against that one, and then he can provide range of support. Well, since this guy's in brush, I have to cut that 7 in half. So that's what that's saying. Next one is a building. If I have a building, the unit strength is doubled, but the depth is not. And so what that means is you double the top marker, but not the bottom marker. So what's an example of a building? Those are pretty easy to note. See, look, there's a bunch of buildings there. So, yeah, right here. Here's a, let me turn the camera. Can you, yeah, there you go. That's a building hex. See how there's buildings inside of the hex? So if I was attacking that one, the top unit gets doubled, but the bottom one does not. Okay? So next is, I'm just trying not to damage the markers here with my camera. If we're doing jungle, your movement is limited. Like, you can move into jungle, but you can only move one space at a time. That's one thing to bear in mind. The unit strength is doubled, depth is not, and then if you're doing close combat, the Japanese get a bonus card. And jungle is all of these hexes. So that's a jungle hex right there, and so is that one. Okay, next is what they call coral or mountain, level 1, 2, and 3. Again, you can move in, but you have to stop, so you can only move one space at a time. Unit and depth are both doubled. So this is where I'm going. This is coral here. Let me zoom out now. This purple here is in coral. Coral is actually really hard to see. But this is coral, so both this marker and this marker are doubled. And so even though I have 8 here, if this is a 2 and that's a 2, they're both doubled. And all of a sudden, I have a 4 and a 4, which is 8. And I would need 16 to attack this in order to win. So you're seeing how hopeless this is getting for me. Now, this brown one here is a jungle, which this one is doubled, but that one is not. Now, none of this matters. I'm disrupted, so I can't attack with these units even if I wanted to. So I have to look at my situation and decide where is the best place to attack. So let's go through methodically here. It's not going to take very long. Blue can be attacked by him with a strength 7, and I can have him support with a range attack. But we already determined that his attack is going to be reduced in half. So that's going to be a 3 or a 4. I don't know if I round up or down. I'm assuming down. So this would be a 3. So that'd be a 10 strength attack against blue. It's sort of nice because blue is one of the nasty 4 that's making this a bloodbath. Blue would also help make this one less. So that's an option. But here's the drawback. It would cost both of my actions because they're both in different locations. So it'd be an action for him and an action for him. And then that would be both my actions. It's an option. So let's just keep that in our tool belt. And let's move on. Red, I cannot attack. You might say, well, these guys have range. Nope. Remember, you must always attack from somebody that's next to them. That is a requirement for an attack. And I'm speaking with authority because people have corrected me on YouTube 30 times before I got it right. So, anyways, that's not an option. Red is safe from us this turn. Now, remember that the guys that are disrupted all get free actions, and their free action is that the disruption marker will be removed. The rulebook recommends you wait until the end of your turn to do it. I agree, because I've removed them and then did an action with them because I forgot that they were disrupted. So anyways, just bear that in mind. And that's why I was saying I like to put the Japanese ones on them because look how much they contrast with the color of my troops. So it's real easy to find them. Sorry, I'm an old man. I gotta do that. Green is safe. Yellow is not safe. In fact, we can. Thank you, Jason. All right. Yellow is not safe. In fact, we can tear the crap of it. This tank can attack, and the hero can attack. This could be a glorious day for yellow. But I would require one action for him. I don't need an action for him. Next is brown. He's safe. And purple is safe. We don't have the ability to hit purple. So, if we want to attack somebody right away, that blue is the only option, in fact. Now, I could try to... the other thing that's a free action is called a preservation move. And that only exists if you're in these arrow spots. So I can do a free preservation move and get off the beach. And so that'll put me in a position where purple will have a deadly day next turn, but not this turn. So you may be thinking, well, we may have to spend actions just to move these guys off the beach. The answer is no, we don't have to. They all get preservation moves. And I think the preservation move is only one space. It doesn't matter. Everything here is intense fire, so it's going to be one space anyways. But I could look that up. The tanks don't get preservation moves, and that's the reason why we didn't do that on the first round. It's only infantry that get preservation moves. So self-preservation moves are good, and it can position us to really do some damage for later. So now I will look up how many spaces a self-preservation move can go, because since this guy is disrupted, we can move past that. So the question becomes, what can we do with our self-preservation moves? And I guess it's just called a preservation move, not a self-preservation move. So you can move 1 hex, period, and it's free, meaning you don't have to spend an action. So so let's do our primary actions, and the disrupted guys are not going to be able to do the preservation move because their only action is to remove the disruption marker. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to attack with my hero on him and not use the tank. And the reason is this guy does not have a depth marker. He does get doubled because this looks like it's a jungle, and so he will get doubled, but I'm at strength 7, and the hero can make it an 8. That's what a hero does. He can add 1 strength to the unit, or he can be a wild card for weapons. And since this thing is full strength, I may not need him as a wild card for weapons. And so we're going to go ahead and attack with the hero, and then we're going to do this exact plan. We'll use both of these guys together to attack this. That's all we can do, and then everybody else will do preservation moves. So let's go ahead. Let's start with this one. I'm most curious about this one. So first thing we do is we reveal the top. And you can see that it's a 2, and it requires close combat. Close combat is something that is special, where you have to charge and engage in hand-to-hand combat. That's not what we did. So I can already tell you we can't satisfy the weapon requirement of this. Our weapons, we have a whole laundry list of weapons available to us. None of them are close combat. Okay, so we can't do any of it. Now, basically what that means is we don't satisfy the weapon requirements. Do we have at least double their strength? Yes, because he's a 2 and he's in a field or brush, and we have 7 right here, plus 3 more is 10. We're quintuple his strength. So we're at least double. Is he alone, meaning he doesn't have a depth marker? No, he has a depth marker, so it's unrevealed depth marker. So we got to go to this column. Then we look here, and you see that he's disrupted. So if we would have met the weapons requirements, then we get to see, we don't even get to see what the depth marker is. That stays hidden, a secret. So that's the drawback, but the good news is we disrupted him. So next turn, blue will not attack, even if the number gets called. And that's a good thing. One thing I forgot to do is when brown came up, this tank lost his disruption marker. So I'm going to take care of that right now. Okay, so that attack, I say, was a success. I mean, it would have been nice to take him out, but it's a success from the perspective that we disrupted him. And this one is already disrupted, so let's just hope we can finish him. And there you go. He needs a Browning, and he's a 1, and we have a 7, and this guy definitely has a Browning, trust me. The full-strength infantry has a Browning. We're more than double, so we beat the weapons requirement. Our attack strength is at least double, he's defeated. So we didn't need the tank at all. So it gets destroyed, and there's two things that happen. If this was solid red, it's an elite unit. And if he can trace communication to 2 other Japanese units, which he can because we don't control that space there, so he can come out here and go to that unit and go to that unit. If he can trace to 2 units, he's not eliminated. But in this case, these guys are eliminated, and so they go into the eliminated box, which is here. There is, during the night phase, some of them might come back, but for now, it goes there. And by the way, all close combat defeats go into eliminated. They don't get to escape. All right, so this disruption marker goes away. You don't get to move into the space as part of your attack. But now we get to do preservation. So these 2 attacked, so we can't do anything with them. So I'm just going to go left to right, and we're going to just resolve them. So I'm just going to remove disruption markers as we go. And I think that takes us to this guy. Green and red are both serious threats. And so we still have an issue. And I think what I want to do... See, I'm tempted to just go here, but that's still an issue. Green and red can both get him. It's ugly. Very ugly. And if I push him this way, then I'm pushing all my other units. See, they all have preservation moves, but they have nowhere to go. There's 3 guys and only 2 spots. And then I would create a concentration issue here. That's actually not a bad idea, because this is a safe spot now. I don't know what I gain. I'm going to do that, and we're going to charge, because we need to get some stuff destroyed here. So I'm going to move all those up. Disruption. And this guy's going to charge. Disruption. And we'll have... I'm worried about that blue. That's actually... A concentrated unit needs to have 7. This is 4 and 2. So he can actually move on the spot with the tank. So that's that. All right, so I'm at 1 hour and 7 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and end this, and I will see you in just 1 minute. Just going to go grab some water. And I'm already having fun. I have fun in all these games, but this is very neat. I'm liking this one so far. Not going to compare it to anything yet. So far, these opening turns are a real mind cruncher. I think this is probably the most deep thinking opening turns I've had so far. Omaha Beach is pretty scripted. Those opening rounds pretty much go one way. The Tarawa is just so random that you just get thrown all over the place, and you're just reacting to wherever you're thrown. This one is quite the grind. But anyways, thank you for watching and joining me at the table. Stay awesome, and I'll see you in a minute.